it's not. In 30 days, we can get them. This isn't a great epiphany here. We can get anyone $10,000 of business credit in 30 days, but people sometimes don't realize that. They think, oh, that won't work for me, or it takes much longer. Not true. On personal credit, people often think, well, I have derogatories. I need to use credit repair. You and I know that credit repair is a very dangerous game. We do not condone or encourage the use of credit repair. But anyway, we talk about how to establish and build strong personal and business credit histories and how lenders may use their information. We also talk about credit reporting services that could benefit them, talk about how to leverage strong business and personal credit histories for better financing terms, because credit's not only going to be the difference between getting an approval or not, it also, the strength of one's credit affects the terms, meaning how much you can borrow and the cost of capital. All right, and so we sometimes teach this in person. Of course, for the 4-week curriculum, we're typically running people through it online. So again, they'll receive this package lesson via email. They'll be able to go through it on demand, and then they have the mentor that reviews it with them and applies it. Teach about the big picture of credit, how it's used, why it's used. A lot of people don't understand the difference between personal credit history and business. And of course, what we really want to focus on is business credit. What can we do to help them build their business credit so the business can stand alone? And that's good because it protects one's personal credit, but also it's very important for people that have bad personal credit that limits their access to some sources of capital. Instead, we should be focused on business credit. Moving on down here. Graphical format showing the support of business growth and sustainability. Talking about the credit spectrum. We have a case study here. There's a couple slides. So personal credit, I'm not going to spend much time on. You all probably understand. And again, what we're trying to do is minimize the use of personal credit, but the business credit is incredibly important. Here, we're talking about the difference between FICO scores and Vantage scores. But what I want to do is get you down here to the business credit portion, because that is where section 3 that we really want to emphasize. So we teach them about business credit reports. We actually help them pull their business credit reports, review what's on it, help them understand that there are 3 major players in business credit reporting: D&B, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax Business, and Experian Business. And so even though Equifax and Experian also operate in the personal credit sphere, it's just a complete different reporting database, different algorithms, much different. Help them understand what business credit reports contain. Talk about the regulation of business credit. Talk about the difference between the scoring models. We help them check their business credit report because we need to create a baseline, and then we help them start adding trade lines. So during that 28-day process, we're going to help them add trade lines so they have access to at least $10,000 for their business. And so this checklist I really like, because we do is we actually have them now fill this out and return it to us, because it's a great self-assessment of how their business credit profile is. And let's see here if there's anything else we need to cover. Talk about how lenders look at business credit. So I won't bore you with too much of this, but the bottom line is what we have here is a turnkey, award-winning educational curriculum. What we're looking at right now is module 2 of the 4 modules. So they learn and then we apply it. And so we apply, there's really 3 main takeaways from module 2 of the 4-week curriculum. We're going to do the personal credit evaluation, which of course is free, no hard impact to their credit. Secondly, we're going to do a business credit review and help them start adding trade lines. So they get at least $10,000 of business credit. And as many of you know, we also will look at their personal financial statement, PFS. The personal financial statement evaluates the individual's net worth. And again, is that going to matter for funding? Well, some sources of capital care about that, some don't. But what you see is there's some building blocks here. So in module 2 that we're talking about now, we look at the personal financial statement of the participant. And then we'll talk tomorrow on Thursday about module 3, where we look at the business financial statements. So we kind of build into it. So with that being said, who has questions, concerns about, well, all the way up to anyone have questions or concerns about the value proposition of the free 4-week funding program, what it does, how it's an outstanding value for the client, how it's completely free, how you can become a referral partner, how you can generate on average $5,000 for just submitting people to your page. If you have any spillover questions from yesterday's lesson on module 1, which we went through in detail, talking about live plan, building out their pitch, their business plan, their financial forecast, and or if you have any questions or concerns today about module 2, which is on credit, looking at business credit, personal credit, as well as their personal financial statement. So again, it's important to understand, why do we do this? Because we've received a grant to help small businesses prepare for a capital raise. You and I are not so naive to think that just because I want capital, I can go out and get capital. We need to look credible on paper. So that starts with building a foundation of knowledge, of key concepts and principles. I have one client, I won't mention that the client is actually the father, but I don't interface with the father. I interface with the daughter. And this is a family in Hawaii. And it really validates the need for what you and I do as technical advisors, because there's just so much financial illiteracy out there. And it's no wonder that so many small businesses have trouble accessing capital, because frankly, a lot of them just don't know what they don't know. So the role that you and I play as technical advisors is just huge. It's just keenly important to be able to help these individuals understand, build a lender compliant loan package, and become credible enough on paper. Otherwise, many of them won't access capital. All right, Cameron is asking about the $10,000 under the business credit. And so our focus is certainly helping them open trade lines that will report on their business credit profiles with Dun & Bradstreet and or Experian Business and or Equifax Business. Cameron, what you and I know that not everyone knows is that when you start a business, or if you've not worked on building your business credit out, you typically have a failing score. So even though you've done nothing wrong, but if you've not had a concerted effort, the business doesn't look credible on paper. And so we need to add at least 4 trade lines that report to Dun & Bradstreet to create a positive PAYDEX score. And we need to add at least 1 on Experian Business, because by default, they're going to have a score of about 27, 28, 29 on a 100 basis, right? My son's in 6th grade. He doesn't know anything about business credit, but he could tell you, Dad, a score of 27, 28, 29 on a 100 scale is pretty crappy, right? It's not good. It's failing. Well, that's where most of these small businesses are, is they have a failing business credit score. But often they're oblivious to it. Like, well, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not going to use it. Well, if you're trying to apply for capital, for credit, for trade lines, then it does matter. So yes, we're going to focus on trade lines that report, because otherwise it doesn't change the credibility of the client on paper.